Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to this week's coaching episode of the Rise of the Trades podcast, where we help trades and construction business owners to skyrocket leads, explode net profits without having to graft 60 hours a week and becoming that busy fool. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you the 3 relationships that you must own and control in your business before it destroys it. But before we go there, I'd just like to ask you a quick favour, and that is, if you're getting value from my podcast episodes, could I please ask you to hit either the follow or the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this episode on, so that it helps pull the algorithm out to more people that need our help and support by listening to these episodes. If you could do that, I'd be most grateful. Now, let's transition over to this week's coaching episode. I'd like to start by asking you this question. Why is it that so many trades or construction business owners are busy? They're flat out working 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day, and yet still feel like they're getting nowhere in the business. They've got no time. They've got no money. They've got constant stress and overwhelm. They're always chasing something, always reacting to something, spinning plates and firefighting. You wake up early, but you're already behind. Your phone's going off constantly. Messages, emails, missed calls. Customers chasing you, suppliers chasing you, team members needing questions constantly answering and needing babysitting. You spend your entire day solving problems, and then at the end of it, you're knackered. You've not made any money that you thought you'd be making throughout that day, and you've got the same problems waiting you the day after. Let me tell you something, that is not a business. That is chaos disguised as productivity. And the worst part, most people think the solution is, I need more work, I need more leads, I need to focus on my marketing to grow my business. No, you don't. Because if your foundations are broken, more work just creates more chaos. And this is where most people go wrong, me included. Back in the day when I first set up my business back in 1994, I didn't know about these 3 things that I had to control. So I just presumed that the busier I got and the more staff that I took on, the more money I'd make and the more successful I'd be. But that's not how it works. It's just organised chaos. And what we've got to understand is that there are 3 things that are controlling everything within our business. And if we do not get topside and control and own these 3 relationships, then all you're going to have moving forward is stress and worry and anxiety. You're not going to grow your business. You're going to feel like you're a failure. You're going to want to throw the towel in. All these emotions that I felt over years, I know for sure that you'll be feeling the same unless you control the following 3 things. So write these down, right? These are the 3 things that underpin every business. And if we don't get top side of them and they control you, I'm telling you now, you'll be a slave and a prisoner in your business forever. Relationship number 1 is the relationship with time. Time is the most valuable currency that we've got, but too many business owners are squandering that time in trading time for money and getting to the end of every week, burnt out, stressed out, and still got a to-do list as long as they're on. So we've got to own time. If we don't own time, time is going to control us, and therefore we're going to be working stupid hours. The second relationship that we've got to own is money. our relationship with money, because if we don't, we're going to end up with cash flow problems. And if we end up with cash flow problems, we end up with sleepless nights. And when we end up with sleepless nights, we get tired and feel burnt out and overwhelmed. And when that starts to happen, we end up with problems at home, with relationships. Okay, so money we've got to control. The third relationship that we have got to be in control of is the relationship with, write this down, people. Because if we let people control us and dictate to us what's happening in our business, then ultimately that's going to end up causing time restrictions and finance and money problems. So we've got to own our relationships with time, money, and people. And if right now in your business you are working like a busy fool, stressed out at max, and you're working long hours, you are not in control of your time. If you've got cash flow challenges in your business and you're not making profit and nowhere near enough profit for the blood, sweat and tears you're putting into your business, and you're skin, you're broke, you're losing money, you're breaking even, right? You don't own your money. You don't own the relationship with money. And if you've got your team, subcontractors, employed members of staffs and customers dictating to you what's happening, then you do not control people. And when we're not in control of them three things, I am telling you now, you will be a prisoner in your business forever. And until that time their control happens, your time gets hijacked, your money disappears, and your customers and your team are running the show. And the sad reality is, it doesn't matter how many staff you've got working for you, how many vans you've got on the road, what your turnover is, how many jobs a week that you do. It doesn't matter about any of that. When you get to a point where time, money and people are controlling your business, you haven't got a business. You've just created yourself the world's toughest job. In the fact that you're going to work longer hours than anyone else, you're going to get paid less than everyone else, and you're going to get people taking the piss with you. And that has to stop. So in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you how we are going to take back control of your three areas so that you can release those ball and chains from within your business and actually have a business that frees up your time, makes you profit while you're in control of people running your business for you. So grab your notepads, pens and your tablets to make notes on. And I'm also going to share with you some other podcast episodes that you can go and listen to that will delve deeper into each one of these three relationships in more granular detail to give you the biggest, best strategy that you've got to getting these three relationships back under control and owned by you. Now, in this chapter, what I'm going to do is not only we're going to highlight each one of these three relationships, but I'm going to give you 5 examples or consequences of what will be happening or will happen if you don't control each one of the three. But I'm also going to give you 5 examples and 5 strategies of how you can take back control of all three. So let's start with part 1, which is the relationship with time, right? I'm going to walk you through 5 examples of what time looks like if it's now in control of you. And what I want you to do is I want you to be brutally honest with yourself here, because I know for sure that having coached 30,000 tradesmen and women, I know that sometimes you don't want to admit and open up to the fact that you have got challenges and some of this is going off. We all think we're like superhuman, don't we? And we can achieve and do anything. But in reality, until you accept that this is happening or could happen if you don't change your ways, until you accept it, and then literally hold your hand up and say, yeah, Craig, that's me. I need some help. What do we do to resolve it? Nothing's going to change, because all you're going to do is you're going to paper over cracks, or you're just going to brush it under carpet. And then that time restriction as we're going to be talking about now, is just going to compile. It's going to get worse. So you've got to understand that accepting that this might be happening to you is not a failure. It's just that we've never had a strategy to deal with this in the past, and it's led us to the point where we're at right now. Okay? So the 5 consequences are as follows. Number 1, constant interruptions. Write it down. Constant interruptions like phone calls, emails, WhatsApp messages from everybody and everything wanting to steal your time. And therefore, once you've got all these constant interruptions that are going off, including things like social media, because for some of you, you'll be addicted to jumping onto Facebook, TikTok, Instagram every half an hour for a quick 5 minutes. All these constant interruptions are killing your time, right? And when this happens, number 1, you're never, ever going to get laser focused on getting the job or the task or the work done. And number 2, you live in reaction mode, and therefore you're not in control because you're reacting. I'm checking my emails 5 times a day. I mean, why do you have to check your emails 5 times a day is beyond me. Unless you're an emergency call-out business like an emergency plumber or an emergency drainage unblocker, why does a normal tradesman have to check the emails 5 times a day? I don't get it. Just check them once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Don't go on social media, right? Get a VA to answer all your phone calls and deal with all your emails. You shouldn't be getting distracted with interruptions throughout the day. Consequence number 2 is there is no structure in your day whatsoever. Basically, you're winging it. You know you've got stuff to get done throughout the day, but there's no set times in any diaries. There's no time set aside to focus on certain things. It's just, I'm just going to wing it every day and I'll deal with the firefighting and what comes in throughout the day. There's no structure. And therefore, the important tasks never get done, because you're too busy flitting between all the low-value tasks and doing all the little things and wasting your own time on things like social media. Why? Because you've got no structure within your day. Consequence number 3 is you're saying yes to everything. You can't seem to bring yourself to say the most powerful word that's going to protect the most amount of time that you've got. It's the smallest 2-letter word, and that is no. You can't bring yourself to say no. So every time there's a task, you're saying yes to it. Every time your team want your time, you're saying yes to it. Every time a customer says jump, you're jumping. You can't say no. And when this happens, what do? You overcommit. You've already not got enough time in the day to get everything done, but because you keep saying yes to everything and everyone, you're overcommitting. And when we overcommit and we're already pushed for time, what does that lead us to do? Well, the only time we've got spare is evenings and weekends. And then before you know it, you've fallen into the trap of working till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night doing your paperwork and having to put a Saturday shift in or maybe even a Sunday shift to catch up on the work that you've not done. Why? Because you've got no structure and you've been dealing with constant interruptions throughout the week, which has pushed the job on. So you can't say no. You're constantly saying yes, and that's got to stop. Consequence number 4 is what I call you're doing too many low-value tasks, and therefore you're not focusing on the high-value tasks. Let me explain. I genuinely, well, it's not I believe, I know, because I've done it and I've coached thousands of other people to do it, and all my inner circle members are now doing this. They're getting rid of or have got rid of the low-value tasks. So they're not answering their own phones. They're not dealing with their own emails. They're not pricing their own jobs. All this lot has been outsourced. Because when you add up your hourly rate within your business to get somebody to do your job, you would need to pay them, honestly, you'd need to pay them a minimum of £100 to £200 an hour. Come on, because you're a business owner, you're a surveyor, you're an admin person, you're an estimator, you're a boss, you're a leader, you're on the tools, you're a marketeer, you're a bookkeeper, you're an accountant. All these things you're doing. So if you were to bring somebody in to do each one of them tasks, you're £100 to £200 an hour. So why are you doing low value tasks that we can outsource for the sake of £20 to a VA? If you outsource that £20 low value task and get your time back, we can then reinvest that time on high value tasks such as marketing to bring better quality leads in. Or how can we start looking at as numbers to increase our net profit margins? And consequence number 5 is you have no boundaries with your customers or your team. In other words, you're getting calls, WhatsApp messages, emails and text messages at all hours from your customers and your team. And listen, I've done it myself. Where you sat there at 9 o'clock at night and your phone rings and it's a customer, you've been on their job that day and it's 9 o'clock at night and you sat there thinking, this is a problem. But if I don't answer it, it's bad customer service and they might leave me a 1-star review. So what do? You're answering your phone and dealing with emails and texts and messages with your team and your customers at weekends and evenings. So their expectations become a reality. Now, all of a sudden, your customers think that they can contact you at their beck and call and you're going to jump. Your team think it's okay to be messaging you over weekend. No, it's not. You need to set some boundaries before you lose control of your time completely. And the result of all these consequences is you become what I call a busy fool. And I've been using this term since 2012. Well, before that, I used to call myself a busy fool when I was still on tools and I had a building company. I was the ultimate busy fool, where I'm constantly working harder than ever, but not moving in the right direction. The business is not growing. Nothing's happening. I'm having all this stress and all this hassle, working stupid hours, paying me subbies more than I'm paying myself, using me VAT money as an overdraft to bail me out, to pay wages. And I've got all this responsibility on my shoulders. But the business is not growing. And that's because you are not in control of the relationship with time. So they're the consequences. But what about the strategies then, Craig? So I'm going to give you 5 strategies that will help you get control back of your time. And then I'm going to give you some podcast episodes that's going to delve into some of these areas in more detail. So, strategy number 1 is to create a default diary. Now, if you've been listening to any of my podcasts, you're a Growth Club member, Inner Circle member, you're having any type of coaching from me, you will know that I am absolutely fixated on default diaries because I run my businesses and my life through a default diary. And the idea behind a default diary is any default task that takes any of your time, whether that's dealing with emails, whether that's having meetings or surveys or pricing jobs, whether that's creating marketing content, whether that's doing your books or your accounts or whatever it is you're doing that needs doing on a default, i.e. every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every 6 months or every year, that time has got to be added into an online diary that then becomes what we call a default diary. This time has got to be allocated. It needs blocking in. You've got to do these things. But rather than you just winging it and doing it as and when you think you've got time with no prior planning or any organisation, you have a diary and you plot everything into your diary. and then you don't say yes to any task or any person without first consulting your default diary to see if you've got the time and the space to be able to fit it in. And if you haven't, you've got to learn to say the word no and then find another alternative date and time to fit that in. Are you with me? It's called a default diary. Trust me, it's a game changer. It'll transform how productive and how efficient you become. Strategy number 2 is to time block your day. And what I mean by time block your day is get rid of all distractions, right, that you can. Because throughout the day, if you were to add up the amount of times that you picked up your phone and made phone calls or received phone calls and you were to track that, every time you picked up your phone and you went on social media through the day, every time you picked up your phone to deal with a WhatsApp or a text message, every time you picked up the phone to deal with an email, right? And that's just picking your phone up. That's just one distraction, right? What about all the other distractions that you've got? You've got to block that out, and you've got to become disciplined to not go and continuously be checking your phone in this example, because the amount of time that you waste every day without you even realising it is absolutely massive. Now, you can get time blockers, a time blocker app on your phone that will actually block you out of certain apps. So if you're a bit addictive to social media and you can't stop checking it, then you can put a blocker on that says, right, between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m, it won't allow you to go on to social media. Why don't you get into the realms of only checking your emails twice a day? One in the morning and one at tea time. Quick look in, job done. If it's a case of you've got your team constantly bombarding you, can you set some boundaries on when they're allowed to contact you or not? Are you with me? But at certain parts throughout the day, you've got to block all them distractions out and get laser focused on what it is that you're actually doing. Strategy number 3 is stop doing everything yourself. You've got to learn to start to delegate and automate the systems and the processes that you've got in place in your business to buy back your time. You see, you've only got 168 hours in a week. So if you're trying to do everything in your business, and I mean it, I'm talking about being a control freak like I used to be, where you don't trust anyone to do anything. Maybe you've already tried delegating things to a VA in the past and they just couldn't do it, and you only ended up having to do it yourself. And then you've thought, you know what, by the time I've trained someone up to do it, I might as well just do it myself, because if I do it myself, I know it's going to get done right. But if you're going to do everything yourself, you are not going to have enough time in a day or in a week to get everything done, which then leads you going back to staying up till daft o'clock at night, doing all your paperwork, and working weekends and ignoring your family when you should be out on a family weekend, and now you're stuck in house doing your paperwork, or you're back on tools because you're having to catch up on jobs so you can start the next job as planned on Monday. I know how it goes, but you've got to start to learn to delegate. And when we start to delegate correctly, and we've got some systems and processes in place that the person we're delegating to can actually manage and run, then all of a sudden you'll start to get your time back. But more importantly, your business is now growing twice as fast because it's not relying on you to do everything. Therefore, your business is growing and it's constantly improving because somebody else is coming to help you and you're still at it. So therefore, the business is it's moving quicker, it's growing quicker than it would be you trying to do everything yourself. Strategy number 4 is to set clear boundaries. Set clear boundaries. In other words, what hours do you work a day? If you work 8 while 5 Monday to Friday, then surely across your website, on your social media platforms, all your customers must have email and text messages being automatically triggered, letting them know that your office hours are 8 while 5 Monday to Friday. and that any other phone calls, emails, text messages or whatever will either be dealt with the next day or the next working day if it's a weekend. Set your boundaries. Response times. Set your response times with your customers. Explain to them, look, when I'm on your job and I'm working, I am dedicated to working on your job, Mrs. Jones. Therefore, if another customer contacts me, I'm not going to deal with that there and then because I'm focused on you, dedicating my time to you and your job, which means the response times of me getting back to people may vary. But if this is all explained up front, then the customer knows. Likewise with your team. Why don't you say to your team, look, you can only contact me between 9 in the morning and 9:15 in the morning, or 4 p.m. till 4:15 p.m. You've got 2 time slots throughout the day to contact me if it's an emergency. If you can't work out what it is that you need to work out, if you don't know the answer to something, you can contact me between these times. But what you can't do is you can't be ringing me 3 times a day asking me stupid questions. You can't be WhatsApping me 3 times a day asking me ridiculous things about the job. Surely if you're bringing someone in to work on the tools and run a job and be on a job, they should have the common sense to be able to make decisions themselves instead of badgering you every 5 minutes. So bring some response times in. Look, you can contact me 9 mile quarter past or 4 mile quarter past. During any other time, you've got to work it out yourself. And I tell you now, all these team members that you've got that badger you all the time, that haven't got any common sense and want you to make every single decision for them and wipe the backsides, all of a sudden, they'll start making decisions for themselves. And the reason why this is happening to you is you're letting it happen. You're answering all the phone calls. You're responding back to every message. You're shooting up to that job to have a look, right? No, that's what you're paying them to do, so get them to do it. And the 5th strategy to take back control of your time is you understanding where you're investing, or should I say, wasting your time every week. Because on my inner circle, we do a full month just on time management. And one of the tasks I get them to do is download an app. And this app is called A Time Logger. A Time Logger. Go and download it. And what I ask them to do is every single task that they do in the business, and there's a lot of tasks, they pre-populate the app with all the tasks. And then I say to them, right, for the next month, we're going to track where your time's been invested or wasted. So every time you start that task, whatever it is, whether that's answering the phone or dealing with an email, whether that's pricing a job, surveying a job, driving to a job, whatever it is, you press the start button and you press the stop button. And it tracks the time against the task. Then after a month, we'll look at and analyse where the time's been spent. And honestly, it's like a light bulb moment goes off, because for the first time ever, they can see where the time is being wasted or where the time's been spent but could be delegated to somebody else. Are you with me? Now, do you not think before you can actually start to manage your time, you first have to understand where your time is being spent? Because remember, you've got 168 hours in a week. And in that 168 hours, it's designed for you to run your business. It's designed for you to get all your hobbies in. It's designed for you to get all your preservation goals in and still have spare time at the end of every week. I mean, how can I run 4 businesses and still have spare time? Yet some people can't run 1 business because they work in stupid hours. Why? It's because I track my time. I see where I'm investing it. Then I say to myself, should I be the one that's doing that? Or could I delegate that time to somebody else? And my job as a business owner is to delegate as much that time to as many people as I can to free up my time. Now, I've always maintained that time is more valuable than money, and it is. But so many people are trading their time chasing money. And the reason why they're chasing the money is because either one, they're in debt because of poor financial management by themselves, and now they've got to be working stupid hours to pay the debt back. Or two, it's because they want to grow the business and they think the more time I put in, the quicker I'm going to grow the business. Listen, that's not how it works. You've got to take back control of your time or someone else will. Now, I'm going to give you 2 podcast episodes that I want you to go away and listen to that will help you out and go into some of these strategies in more detail. So the first one, go and check out episode number 4, because in episode 4, I share with you how to create a default diary to get super organised, more productive and more efficient. Then I want you to go and check out episode number 8, which is setting boundaries and the rules of your game with your customers and your team. So go and check those 2 out at the end of this episode. Part 2, relationship with money. Now, we're going to do the exact same again. I'm going to give you 5 consequences of you not controlling the relationship with money. And then I'm going to give you 5 strategies on what you can do to go and rectify this and get back on tracks. So, consequence number 1 is literally you do not understand the numbers in your business whatsoever. Because if you did, you wouldn't be running at break even or a loss, or dare I say it, making a little bit of profit. You won't be doing that because you have to understand the numbers in your business. It's irrelevant of how much profit you want to make. It's irrelevant of what house you want to live in, what car you want to drive, how many holidays you want to have a year, materialistic things. All that lot is irrelevant. And I understand that some people want to make more money than others. Some people are materialistic, some people aren't. But the reason why I'm saying it's irrelevant is this. If you are running a business, whatever your goals and aspirations are to do with your money, a business has to make profit. It just has to make profit. And I don't know of any business owner on the planet that's happy breaking even or happy making a little bit of profit. I mean, come on. If you're going to go and leave your house and go and graft for 10 hours a day on tools and then work 3 hours at evening and do 13, 14 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, surely out of that time that you're sacrificing for money, you want to make the maximum amount of profit. I'm not on about ripping people off. I'm not on about being dishonest. I'm just saying you need to maximise your profitability, don't you? To do that, you have to understand the numbers in your business. Every number, from how to price jobs using things like your hourly rate, your overhead contribution, your net profit, your gross profit, your break-even figure, understanding what directors' loan accounts are, understanding how to stop overpaying on taxes to maximise profitability. All this lot you have to understand. And if you're getting the basics wrong, which is, let's face it, the basics are how to correctly price a job, because most people that I coach can't even price a job correctly. They don't even know how to do it. And when I teach them how to do it, and we look at the hourly rate and the overheads and the net and gross profit margins, and we look at it, and I say, right, that's how much you should be charging. Now show me yours. It's like, there's no wonder you're losing money. You're not even pricing jobs correctly. Are you with me? So number 1, the consequence is not knowing the numbers is going to put you in a vulnerable position. Consequence number 2 is poor cash flow management. In other words, money's coming in and money goes out and it's chaos because you've got too many outgoings, your overheads are going out quicker than what your net profit margins are coming in. And too many people are relying on living week to week or month to month because they've got a negative cash flow forecast and problem because they're not managing the money correctly and they are not managing and slowing down the amount of money that's going out of the bank. You see, every single decision that you make in your business if it's a decision that's going to cost you a fairly significant investment in money, whether that's a new website that might cost you 10 grand, whether that's a new van that might cost you 30 grand, whether that's some new equipment that's going to cost you 5 grand, whether that's taking on a new employee that's going to cost you 60 grand, whether that's moving into a new office that over a period of a year, the rent, the rates, the electricity, the extra overheads is going to cost you 20 grand. All them decisions need putting into a cash flow forecast. Because if you're just winging it, going, oh yeah, I'll take another van on, put another engineer on it, and as long as I can keep them busy, they're going to be making me money. No, they're not. That's not how it works. You're going to end up with a negative cash flow. And as soon as you end up with a negative cash flow, you're in debt, and now you've got problems. So we've got to make sure that the flow of cash coming into our bank, as daft as easy as it sounds, you've got to have a significant amount of more money coming into your bank every week and every month than you've got going out. But sadly, because people don't understand the numbers in the business and they're not running cash flow projections, it materialises that it actually goes the opposite way. And then 3 months, 6 months down the line of having a negative cash flow problem, that compounds and now you've got chaos. Now you've got sleepless nights. Now you owe the VAT man money. Now you owe the tax man money. But where's the money gone? It's not in the bank. Now you've got problems. Consequence number 3, you've got no profit margins built in. In other words, you're busy, but you're broke. Your turnover looks great because you've got high turnover, but your bank account doesn't. You're broke in the bank account. And that's because what you're not looking at are the 2 types of profit that you need to be building into your pricing and building into your financial management, which is gross profit and net profit. Now, some people said to me, Craig, I've heard of them, but I don't even know what gross profit and net profit is. And I'm like, come on, how can you be running a business if you don't understand what gross and net profit margins are? So we've got to make sure that if our gross and net profits aren't at the correct percentage or levels for each job that we're pricing, then we're going to end up with cash flow problems and we're back to square one again. So it's not understanding the margins in your business. And there's loads of people that say to me when they're applying for my inner circle, oh, Craig, I'm turning over 1.8 million. And I've got 14 vans on road and I've got 22 members of staff. And I go on the website and they've got that, you know, that photograph that every tradesman or woman loves, where you've got all your vans lined up in a V and then you've got all your staff stood at the side of your vans like Billy Big Balls. They'll go, yeah, I'm turning over 1.8 mil. And I'm like, brilliant. Okay. So what's your net profit on that then? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, well, you're turning over 1.8 million. What's your net profit? Well, I don't know what you mean, Craig. All right. After you've paid everything out and after you've paid your tax out, how much are you left with out of that 1.8 million? And they might go, 100 grand. And I go, what? You're turning over 1.8 million, but after tax and everything you've paid out, you've only made 100 grand on 1.8 million. What are you doing? So all this turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity. Consequence number 4 is payment terms. Most people's payment terms are all over the show. I mean, please don't tell me you're one of these businesses like I used to be before I learned all this when I was the ultimate busy fool, where I'd start, let's say, an extension, I won't take a deposit because I didn't have the confidence in asking for one back then. And then I'd get, let's say, 3 weeks into a job. I've had all machinery, all diggers and everything on job. We've dug out footings. I've had someone in to move all drains and have all ground workers in. I've paid all their wages. Concrete's come. I've had pumping. They've pumped all concrete in. Bricklayers are now in. Brickwork's gone up to first floor. Now scaffolders are in, putting scaffolding in. I've paid for all them materials. And then at some point, I decide to pluck the courage up to ask for a payment off the job. But by this time, I'm 30 grand out of pocket that I've had to finance. And it's like, Craig, what were you doing back then? I know I was young and I know I was naive, but come on. Your payment terms should be in such a way that they are structured to benefit you and not the customer. In other words, you need to be taking deposits on the jobs that you can take deposits on. You need to be taking interim payments throughout the job, depending on how big the job is. You need to be leaving the smallest amount of money on the table for the final invoice at the end. You need to be getting as much off that job as you can. And what I say is, it is not your responsibility to finance a stranger's job. Because let's face it, more customers and clients that you get, you don't know everyone. Most of them are strangers. But they're expecting you to use your savings, your overdraft, your money, your mortgage money. They want you to use that to finance their job. It's like, no. If you want a job doing, whether that's a new boiler, Mrs. Jones, or an extension building on a house, or it might be a commercial job where you're putting solar panels on a big factory roof, it's not down to you to finance somebody's job and use your own money. That's just leaving you wide open. That's just exploitation and too much risk. What you've got to do is you've got to get the customer to finance their own jobs. How they finance their own jobs is by paying you stage payments at the stages that you set, so you've always got enough money off that customer to finance their own job. So you need to sort out your payment terms. Consequence number 5, and I see this all the time, you've got a really poor average accountant. Now, hear me up here. Your accountant's job is not just to provide you with your end-of-year accounts. So if you're a limited company, you've got to submit a set of financial accounts every year, right? You've got to submit them to HMRC. Or you might be a sole trader and you say, well, my accountant does my self-assessment tax returns and hopefully gets me a bit of tax back, right? Either way, that's not what the job of an accountant is. The job of an accountant is to help you to grow your business by being there to help and support you with all of your financial training and knowledge that you're going to need. So if you're lacking all this knowledge that I'm talking about here, right, your accountant should be on standby to teach you all this and help you all this. Don't get me wrong, we can help you. You can join our Growth Club in a circle and we'll do it for you. But ultimately, you're paying for an accountant, so why aren't you using them? Your accountant should be able to train you up on all this. Your accountant should be advising you on how to increase your profit margins every single quarter. And your accountant should be advising you how to not overpay on taxes by moving money around. I'm not saying to dodge the tax man, because we can't do that, but there are cost-effective tax strategies that you can do. For instance, setting up a private pension and paying your profits into a private pension to lower your corporation tax. All legitimate, all legal, but I bet some of you aren't doing that. So your accountant is there to be an accountant to help you make more profit and stop overpaying on taxes. Now, I didn't used to have an accountant like this. My accountant, I'd hear from once a year, usually at end of the financial year. Oh, Craig, send me your login details to Xero and we'll do your books and your accounts. And then they send me this letter saying you owe this in tax and you've got to pay it by this date at this time. And I'm looking at my bank account and it's nothing in it. And I'm like, hang on a minute. How can I pay that tax? Where's that tax come from? I don't understand. Whereas now my accountant, Julie, who's part of the Trades Freedom Club now, Julie works with all our members to sort all this mess out for you and have quarterly accountancy meetings with you. So every quarter we can look at the numbers of what's happening in the business each quarter so you can rectify something that might be going wrong. Or if it's going right, how can we improve that? If it looks like you've had a good quarter or you've had a good 6 months, we need to start tax planning so you don't get whacked with high taxes. That's what an accountant should be doing for you. So here's 2 podcast episodes that I want you to go and listen to that's going to help you with this, right? Number 1 is episode 61, which is an episode that I recorded with Julie, right? Which is how to increase your profits and stop overpaying on taxes and understand the numbers in your business. So that's episode number 61. Then I want you to listen to episode number 103, which is how to charge for quotes, right, without losing jobs. So let's start thinking of charging for quotes, right? Saving your time, charging for quotes. This goes hand in hand with what I've just covered now on step number 1 and not giving up all your valuable time for free. So it's how to start charging your quotes. And you know what? I'm going to give you another one. Episode 63, which is how to correctly calculate your hourly rates and your overheads when you're pricing your jobs. So that's episode 63. So if you've got challenges and these consequences are going off, check them 3 podcast episodes out. So now let's give you 5 strategies on how you can take control back of all these finances. All right. So strategy number 1 is, we've just covered it. It's you've got to know your numbers, right? Please, please, please either get a meeting with your accountant and just sit down with them and be honest with them. And if there's certain things you don't understand about the numbers in your business, pay for a little bit of time with your accountant. Or for some of you, if you're paying for an accountant on a monthly basis, you might get this training involved. But number 1 is you've got to understand the numbers in your business. And the numbers in the business that I believe that you need to learn straight off the bat, and the most important ones are as follows. Number 1, what is your correct hourly rate? Because if we get that wrong when we're pricing jobs, we're losing money straight off the bat. So what is your correct hourly rate and how to price jobs? Number 2, it's understanding the difference between gross profit and net profit. Number 3, overhead contributions. In other words, you've got running costs and you've got fixed costs to run your business. Those overheads have got to be covered in the hourly rates. How do we build them in? The next number is the break-even figure. In other words, you've got a break-even figure of what you need to make profit-wise or turn over every day just to break even. Without even making a profit, this is the amount of money per day, per week, per month, per quarter that we've got to make. The next one is your profit margins. As in, how do you work out how much profit to add on to a job that's going to cover your profits and everything else that it needs to cover as well? The profit margins is another number. I would start with those numbers first and get into grips with what they all mean and how they work. Strategy number 2. Make sure that you fully understand how to use your online accountancy software, right? And the one that I recommend is Xero. Xero's amazing. Closely followed second by QuickBooks, but we've used both in our different businesses, and we believe that Xero is more user-friendly and it can do a bit more. So we use Xero, but I can go into Xero, and because all our accounts are kept up to date every single week, I can click a few buttons and it can tell me every single number that I need to know in my business. And I know what numbers and parameters my businesses have to be running at. So for example, if I go and check on in my default diary on a Friday afternoon, I usually have an hour or 2, if it takes 2 hours, running through all the numbers in my different businesses. And therefore, if the number drops below a certain figure, I want to know what's happened. Why this week has that dropped? I can spot it. It's like a red flag. I can see it straight away because I've set my parameters. Likewise, if I go in and I look and something, and we've exceeded let's say, sales or expectations that week, I'll be saying to my team, right, what have we done different this week? Because something's happened, because sales have gone up and profits have gone up. So what's happened? Because whatever's happened, we need to keep doing more of it. So one, I know what my numbers are, but two, I can track them through Xero or QuickBooks or Sage or Free Agent or whatever it is you're using. You can track them, right? And what I do is I set myself up an email with reports. So for example, every Friday morning, I get an email with all the numbers that I need to know in my business, emailed to myself from the system, Xero, QuickBooks, whatever you're using. It emails me reports. So on Friday afternoon, when I sit down and go through my default diary and set a couple of times aside to go and look at these numbers, all the numbers have been emailed to me. So what I'm saying is, I know how to use the system. I'm not just using the basics like, oh, how do I raise an invoice? How do I do a credit note? Behind the scenes, in the back end of Xero, I can fully understand what's going off because I've had training from my accountant to teach me how to do all this. Number 3 is your payment terms. Getting those payment terms set, because for some of you, you might be making profit, but you still got cash flow problems because your payment terms suit your customer or client rather than suiting you. Are you with me? So, believe it or not, your business can still go bust. You can still go into liquidation. You can still be in financial difficulty, even if on paper your business is making a healthy profit. But if you're not getting that money in on time and therefore you're spending more, there's more going out the bank than there is coming in, even though you're making profit, then you're going to be in financial difficulty. So by setting those payment terms that we spoke about, deposits, stage payments, and maybe and keeping the lowest amount due at the end of the job, so you've got the maximum off the job, that is where we need to be. And the other thing is, make it easy for people to pay you. Because the amount of tradesmen and women that I come across that I say, why aren't you getting paid at the end of every job? I don't know, I keep using boilers as an example, right? You've got and fitted a boiler. Yeah, right. It's easy. Why aren't you getting paid the final payment that should be the lowest payment of them all? The day you finish that boiler, why are you waiting and invoicing 2 weeks further down the line? I just don't get it. Some people aren't helping themselves because they say they're too busy to get invoices out, and therefore it might be 6 weeks later before they send an invoice. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you waiting days or weeks, or in some cases even months, to get paid off jobs? Get your flipping invoices out. Done. Systemize it. Automate it. Let your customer know that on the final day of the job you're expecting payment. And make it easy for them. Turn your mobile phone into a card machine so that you can take payments on your card. You can do this via Leadzilla or ServiceMate. But for goodness sake, don't put obstacles and hurdles in your own path from not getting paid because you say you're either too busy or you're not giving them the means to pay you immediately. Strategy number 4. What I want you to do is have 4 different bank accounts, or if you're banking with things with online banks like Tide, Monzo, Starling, you have one bank account and then you can set up separate pots. They call them like money pots. And what you need to do is you need 4 bank accounts. One is a current account, which no doubt you've already got. And that's what all your customers are going to pay into that account, right? That's the account that the money hits. But think about it. If you've only got one bank account and all the money hits that one bank account, some months where you get paid on time or ahead of time, you're going to look at your bank account and you're going to be rubbing your hands thinking, blimey, I've got a few quid in here. That's brilliant. But then at the end of the month, by the time you've paid your suppliers, and then at the end of that month, your VAT return's due. So your suppliers comes out, your VAT return goes out, And who knows, it might be end of January when your self-assessment tax returns are due. Then all of a sudden, by the time you've paid that lot out, you're back to zero again, or even worse, a negative figure. So what I want you to do is set these 4 accounts up, or pots. The current account that you've currently got, what happens is at the end of every week, or at the end of every month, worst case scenario, we do it weekly, but you could do it monthly. You're going to move the VAT that you owe the VAT man out of the current account into a VAT pot or a VAT account. And what we do is, instead of trying to work out the difference between the 20% VAT that we need to pay to the tax man that we've got in from our customers on their invoices, and then trying to work out, actually, we don't have to pay all 20% over to VAT man, because we can reclaim the VAT on all our purchases and all our materials. So instead of trying to work out what you pay them, every week we move all 20% into a VAT account. All 20%. That way you know that you've always got more than enough money sat in that VAT account to pay your VAT return. What we also do at the end of every month, because of our reporting in Xero, and it's up to date, we will say, right, this month or this week, we've tax-wise, we need to put this amount of money aside for tax. That's our personal tax, our self-assessment tax, and that's our corporation tax for the profits that we make as a limited company. So that money is put into a tax account every week. And then what we do is we have what we call a savings account or a rainy day account. And that is kept empty for the time being. But let me just explain what's happening here. Now, all of a sudden, that current account where sometimes you look like you're loaded because you've got all this money in, you've taken your tax out and put it into one account. You've taken your VAT account and you've put it into another account. What that now leaves you with is an account to pay the wages and the materials from, right? That's your current account. And then what we do with the savings pot is, let's just say, for argument's sake, and I'm just going to make figures up here. Let's say that we've just moved 100 grand of VAT into our VAT pot, right? All 20% has been moved. But it materialises that actually, out of that 100 grand, we don't have to pay all to to VAT man, because we can reclaim, let's call it 20 grand back. We can reclaim 20 grand of that back from materials that we've purchased. So in effect, we don't owe the VAT man 100 grand, we only owe him 80. In that VAT pot, you've got 100 grand, because that's what you've put to one side. So you're going to pay the VAT man his 80 grand, and then the 20 grand that sat in that VAT account, you're going to move into your savings account or your rainy day account. So all we're doing is we're moving the surplus VAT that's left in the VAT account into a savings account. And that just starts to accumulate, and then you've got that to fall back on should you ever need to fall back on it. Strategy number 5 is to build cash reserves. Now, for some of you, you might be saying, Craig, do you know what? I've made some terrible financial mistakes in the past that have come back to bite me in the backside. The thought of having, a big chunk of money sat in an account as cash reserves, I'm miles off that. But then this could be some of you sat there going, well, actually, I'm doing all right. I could probably make more profit and I could probably put some into a reserve account. Okay, we can do it. For others, you might be listening to this going, Craig, we're doing incredibly well. We're making really high net profits. The business is in profit every single month. We're doing really well. That's okay. But what I want you to consider is this. For those people that were in business back in 2019 and 20, something happened called COVID. And COVID just threw a huge spanner in the works of just about every single business, didn't it? Let's face it. Now, there are things that are outside of our control in life. such as COVID, such as politics, economics, the economy, different governments that come in. At the time of recording this video, Donald Trump is in power in America and he's gone to war on Iran. So stock markets have crashed, cryptos have crashed, all sorts are crashing. We are not in control of everything. So if we're going to be living week to week, month to month, and something should happen, that a recession kicks in or something like that, and we're week to week, month to month, we're going to struggle, aren't we? So what I want you to consider doing is building a cash reserve. Now, that could be that savings pot that we've just talked about, where you're putting all your surplus cash into it. But I want you to think about this. How long do you want to go in your business without getting stressed and overwhelmed with no work or no business coming in? So let's say, for argument's sake, that there were a third world war kicking now and everything were to start to crash. You've still got to work. You've still got to put food on the table. You've still got to survive. It's going to happen. You've got to do something. So how long are you prepared to go with, let's say, being in a difficult situation that you've not put yourself in? The world has put you in it. But how long are you prepared to go without having to worry about money? Are you with me? Now, this could be, do you know what? I'm going to build enough cash reserves up, Craig, for 3 months. So let's say something were to happen again and we couldn't really work for 3 months, or leads dropped off for 3 months for whatever reason. My business can still survive. I've still got a 3-month buffer because I've got this money saved up. You might say, well, actually, Craig, the size of my business, 2 to 3 months is not enough. You know, I've got big overheads. You know, we'd eat through that immediately. So I need 6 to 12 months. Okay, if it's 6 to 12 months, that's got to be a plan we've got to work towards. For me, I'd want beyond that. And I'm in a fortunate position that I can do that. So I could probably go retire now and never work again and I'd be okay. Are you with me? What I'm trying to say is, wherever you are on that journey, you've got to think of cash reserves. Even if that means transferring money into that savings pot and it's a small amount every week. And then you can increase that and then increase it and then increase it so that that pot is building. But what you can't do is leave your business in a vulnerable position, whereas if something happens outside of your control, affects your business, because if it affects your business, it's going to affect your home life, isn't it? You need to start to build cash reserves. Part 3, relationships with people, right? So let's look at the consequences of what's going to happen if you don't start to control relationships with people that are involved in your business. Number 1, your customers will start to dictate everything. Honestly, if you don't set them boundaries up front with them customers and you let them have a bit of a free rein, then what's going to happen? They're going to be contacting you at all hours. They've got unrealistic expectations of you and your team. All of a sudden, while you're here, can you just, and all extras start creeping in and the scope of work starts to change. You're then put under constant pressure to please customers and be a people pleaser because you're terrified of getting that 1-star review. All that lot has got to stop. Consequence number 2 is the team, your subbies, your apprentice, your employed members of staff. There is a team lack of accountability, right? In other words, mistakes start to happen and mistakes get repeated because there is no accountability to making sure that this job gets done to these standards in this time frame to this level of specification. because you're avoiding all accountability with your team. You're dodging things. You've got a team on a job and you just automatically think that they're going to do the job to your values, standards, morals and beliefs. But they're not. No one's ever going to do it like you. And if you don't bring a level of accountability to it for them, then mistakes are going to happen. And when mistakes happen, poor performance then becomes tolerated. It becomes tolerated by you because you turn a blind eye, and it becomes tolerated by your team. So now you're setting a culture of you're allowing them to have lower standards, lower values, lower morals, and lower beliefs than what you've got. Consequence number 3. There is no clear process and direction in your business. And that's because you're poor at time management, you're poor with the numbers in your business, and therefore you might be working long hours for little pay. Now, all of a sudden, you've got your customers that are demanding more expectations of you. You've got your team that's not pulling the weight, and your team's not helping you to solve the problems that your customers are bringing to you. If anything, they're doing the opposite. They're making the problems worse because they're not there to help and support you. And all of a sudden, you don't have a clear process and a clear direction of where you're heading in this business. And before you know it, you're on this hamster wheel going round and round and round every week, just waiting for a breather to catch your breath at weekend. But then what happens? Monday morning kicks in again and you're back to grinding wheel. You're back on that hamster wheel. So letting your team and your customers control your relationship is going to lead you to having no clear direction of where this business is heading. What's the vision? How together as a team are we going to get that our business to where we want to be? Because your team are not interested. Some of them won't care about you. They don't care about your business. They don't care about your goals. All they care about is rocking up every Friday for a wage, and that is it. Consequence number 4. The difficult conversations that you end up avoiding. You see, when you're on the hamster wheel, trust me, from my own experience, you haven't got the headspace to deal with a great deal because your head is just full and it's just playing head tennis and it's going 100 mile an hour, firefighting and spinning plates. And you will have got team members that are taking the piss. You'll have got them playing on the phones all day, getting to job late, leaving job late, smoking on customers' property, using bad language, cocking up on jobs, making mistakes. All this lot will be going off when you're on that hamster wheel. And you know this is happening, but because you haven't got the headspace, because you're dealing with everything else, and you don't want confrontation, and if you did pull them up on it, they might walk out on you, which is not a bad thing, by the way, is it? If they're not pulling up, if they're not making you any money or saving your time. But your mindset is, well, if they go, I can't find anyone to replace them and I've got all this work on. You've just put yourself in a prison. And you'll avoid the difficult conversations that you need to have with your team for that reason. And I did this for years. And then because I'm avoiding conversation, standards start to drop. Things get brushed under the carpet. And then all of a sudden your team thinks that that's okay to get away with. And instead of one person being late getting to the job and knocking off an hour early on Friday, you let it slip. All of a sudden the whole team's doing it. Now it's costing you even more time and money. Consequence number 5, you haven't established the rules of your game up front with your team and your customers. And what I mean by the rules of your game is think of a football match. And apologies if you're not into football, I'm just using it as an example. You are the manager of your football team, i.e. your business. So it's up to you which team players you bring in to win the league. Now, if you're bringing pub team players in to your business, or Sunday league players or conference players, but you're expecting and telling your customers that you're playing at Premier League standards, there's going to be a problem. So, number one, you might have brought the wrong players in. They can't play to your standards. Now, when these players cross the white line and go onto a pitch, in a football match, you've got rules, haven't you? Which means if you bring somebody down in penalty area, it's a penalty. If it goes out for a throw-in, this is what happens. If you bring someone down in and tackle them wrong, it's a yellow card. If you do it twice, you're off. There's certain rules that they've got to abide by. So when you employ a team, you've got to make sure that that team fully understand the rules of your game when they come and join you. And you don't just let them loose into your business, letting them run riot, doing what they want, when they want on your pitch. If somebody comes to work with you, they've got to abide by your values, morals, standards and beliefs and rules of the game. And if they break those rules of the game, there's consequences. But if you don't establish what these rules of the game are up front, they're not mind readers. They're just going to bring all their bad habits, low standards of workmanship. They've been able to get away from turning up on time. They've been able to allow to knock off Friday and go to pub at 3 o'clock for a few pints, working for everybody else they've worked for. That's not been a problem. So they're going to bring that standard to your business. But you don't want that. You want them turning up on time. You don't want them going at pub at 3 o'clock on a Friday. You want them working to hours you're paying them. So if you don't explain all this to them up front, how are they supposed to know? And what happens is they will break your rules, which now frustrates the hell out of you and puts you into more of a under pressure. Are you with me? And it's the same with your customers. You've got rules that them customers have to abide by. And it might mean a little confidence check and step outside your comfort zone to establish these rules with your team and your customers. But if you don't do it, they're going to run riot and they're going to take advantage of you. And the result of all this is if you don't own those relationships, right, you don't run your business, they will run your business for you. So now let's look at the 5 strategies that you can do to control these relationships. Number 1 is the first thing that you need to do is align your future vision of your business, right? Align the future vision of your business. Where is your business going? And this vision needs sharing along with the rules of the game with your team. Because your team are there to make you more profit and save you time. So they need to know what the vision is of this business and where it's going. Likewise, the rules of the game are now going to need setting up front with your customers. So anything that your customers are doing that's driving you nuts, or you feel as though they're taking advantage of you on, that in a polite way needs addressing up front before you start working with them. That could be in emails, text messages. You could record a video that gets sent via email and text. You could have a video sat on your landing page that you send customers to. It could be a phone call. It could be an in-person meeting. Doesn't matter as long as you're sharing 1, the vision of your business and the rules of the game, and 2, the rules of the game with your customers. Strategy number 2 is to build systems and processes. So that things such as establishing the rules with your customers or your team, all that lot is automated and systemized. So you're not having to constantly evaluate this and do it time after time after time. For example, it could be when a new customer or client comes on board, we move them to this stage in the pipeline of Leadzilla, which automatically sends them an email and a text message with a link to the video, introducing yourself and just setting some boundaries with them. That's a system. That's automation. That's done. Likewise with your team. Your team, you might want them to start clocking in and clocking out. GPS tracking devices on the vans to make sure that they are doing what you're paying them to actually do. Again, that's a system and that's a process that you need to do to manage your team. Strategy number 3 is clear communication and team meetings with your employees and your subbies. And what I mean by this is a lot of the time, because you might be busy, the information that the team need to do the job properly, they haven't got all the information. Therefore, that's when they're constantly badgering you with WhatsApps and phone calls. What happens here? What am I supposed to be doing? Whereas if the communication was crystal clear, because you've got systems and processes in place that tells your team everything about that job, all the conversations that they need to have with the customer, all the drawings of the job, all the specifications, if it's crystal clear up front, because the communication between you and your team is great, there shouldn't be any reasons for them to be badgering you because you've given it all up front. Now, that takes a bit of time, but that's the time that you put into your default diary to do that. Whereas for many of you, you're rushing around like a blue-horse fly. You send someone to a job, but they've only got half the information, and then you're getting frustrated with them when they're ringing you for the remainder of the information. Whereas if the communication was crystal clear up front and everybody got a project pack or everybody fully understood what were happening on this particular job, you won't be getting any of that. And when I said team meetings, it's important that you have regular team meetings with all your team, whether that's the apprentice, your employed staff, or self-employed subbies that you're using. And every quarter, as a bare minimum, if you do it every month, even better, but at least once a quarter, you're going to get the whole team together and you're going to go through the changes in your vision on what's happened over the quarter. Anything that they've done really well on as a team, you're going to praise them. Anything that you think can be improved, you're going to discuss that and how it can be improved. And any changes to the rules of your game that they might need to be aware of, you deal with it all in a monthly or a quarterly team meeting. And you give them a voice in that meeting and you make them feel part of the team and part of the decision-making process. And maybe it's something that as a team you've brainstormed and you've come up with an idea that can help the job run more smooth, as an example. Well, when they see you introducing their ideas, then they'll want to bring more ideas to you. And sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees because you've got that much going off. But your team, they can see where the business is falling short. They can see what can be improved. But you've never given them a platform like a team meeting, or you've never given them a voice to be able to voice that. So therefore they keep it quiet. Are you with me? Strategy number 4, don't be the boss, be a leader. And what I mean by this is, in first, let's say 10, 15 years of me running my construction business, I just wanted to be everybody's friend. So therefore I thought, if I'm a friendly boss and I'm one at lads, yeah, and we can have some banter and they can come and talk to me. If they want a bit of time off, they can have a bit of time off and all this lot. I just thought if I were a people pleaser and I were a good boss to everyone, then I'd get mutual respect and therefore I'd get the same type of behaviour back to me. But trust me, being the nice boss, letting things get away with things, letting people have time off. Oh yeah, it's all right, don't worry, you know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and trying to be nice and being one of the team, trust me, it don't work. It does not work. It might work for a short amount of space of time, but as you start to build and grow and scale your teams and you've got that many different people working with you, being the boss does not work. There has to be a line drawn in the sand. So I would suggest that if you are the boss now and you're trying to be a people pleaser, I'm telling you now, that's going to come back you and bite you in backside. Because while ever you're doing that, you're lowering your own standards and you're letting people get away with things they shouldn't do to be a nice person, to be the nice boss. The minute I started to learn leadership skills on how to become a good leader, and I don't mean a tyrant, I don't mean anything like that. I just mean that there's a line that I won't tolerate. And being a good leader and learning proper leadership skills from leadership development training that I've been on, all of a sudden, I did start to get respect and people did want to work for me. And I did know how to put my arm around someone every now and again if I felt like there was something going off at home, perhaps, that were affecting them back on the work environment. I learned how to put my arm around people. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to motivate people. I learned how to incentivize people. Because that's what we're doing. We can't be the boss and do all that. You have to be a line. So be a leader, not the boss. And strategy number 5 is incentivize and motivate your team. Now, listen, I know some of you will think like I used to when I was a boss. In the fact that, hang on a minute, I'm paying their wages. They're lucky to have a job. You know, I'm paying them decent money here. They should be grateful that they've got this job and they're getting paid on time every Friday. I'm not messing them about with the money or out like that. If anybody goes without, it's me. They always get paid. But that's the wrong strategy to have. I know that we might want to think like that, but we can't. So when I started learning these new leadership skills and they started sharing with us, well, how do you incentivize your team? I'm like, what more incentive do they want? They've got a flipping job, for goodness sake. They should think themselves looking like, no, you can't think like that, Craig. What motivates and incentivizes your team to get out of bed on a Monday morning when they've had a tough weekend off, maybe having some challenges at home, they might be not getting on with their husband or the wife or the partner or something, one of the kids might be ill, and then they bring that to your work. You just look at that and you just think they're not putting a day's graft in, and then you're going to give them a roasting for it. A good leader will incentivize and motivate the team. I said, go on then, so how do we do this? And he's like, well, why can't you just do little incentives such as, if you get this job done by this date on this time, right, then what I'll allow you to do is I'll allow you to do this. And whatever this is down to you, it's up to you. It could be that if we get 10 5-star reviews this week between us all by you asking the customers that you're on the job for a 5-star review. If we as a team get 10 5-star reviews this week, then we're going to get this, and you decide what this incentive is. You could even run little challenges and little things such as, listen, lads, my marketing is constantly bringing work in for us all. But you guys could bring work in for us as well. You know, when was the last time any of you brought a family member or a friend or a work colleague to us where we can give them a price to do a job? So the first person that does that is going to get this. And then all of a sudden, you have a bit of banter going between your team. You have a bit of a running scoreboard. Oh, John's brought 2 referrals in this month. Phil's got 3 now. Phil's in lead. Phil's in running for this. And it just forms a little bit of camaraderie, a little bit of friendly competition between people, and things start to happen. But if we can incentivize them by bringing little things like that in, brilliant. And the other thing is, how are you motivating your team? Because listen, it's your business, and sometimes you get demotivated. You can't be bothered to get out of bed some mornings. So you get demotivated, but it's your business. So they're bound to get demotivated. So what can you do for team building, team camaraderie? What could you do maybe every quarter? We've done everything from go-karting to going out for meals. And I don't just mean taking them out for a drink at Christmas. I mean like taking them out for meals. We've done laser quests. We've done abseiling over the top of a viaduct bridge. We've done the Cube in Manchester, that program, the Cube, where you've got to work together as a team. We've done an army assault course. In fact, in 2 months' time, I'm taking 25 of our team to Amp Middleton's SAS Special Forces training camp for 3 days. That's going to incentivize us. That's going to push us beyond us limits. Are you with me? Are you doing any of this? Because we've got to incentivize and we've got to motivate our team. And if we start to do what I'm sharing now, That is then going to own the relationships. That is going to get your team on your side. That's going to get your customers on your side. And then all of a sudden, the relationship changes in the fact that you're now in control of relationships and people, and they're no longer in control of you. And when we do this, trust me, life is so much easier when you've got good customers that are all singing to your hymn sheet and you've got a team that are all playing to the rules of your game. Now, let me give you 2 podcast episodes that you can go and listen to that will help you out with all this. The first one is episode number 75. And in 75, I share with you the 7-step hiring method that every trades business needs to go through before hiring the wrong person. Because for some of you, you might have got people working for you that you should have never have took on. But how do you find and hire the right person? Well, all that is in episode 75. Then what I want you to listen to is episode 79, which is how to become a better leader and a better boss, but to grow your business by becoming that ultimate better leader. Now, that is in episode number 79. So let me leave this one with you, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or you're losing control of any part of your business, it's not that you need more work. That's the last thing that you need right now. It's because you've lost control of either one or all 3 of those relationships, which is time, money, and people. And in the moment where you decide and choose to take back control, let me tell you now, everything is going to start to change. Not overnight, won't happen overnight, but the sooner we can get to start on one of these 3 areas, the better. You'll get your time back, you'll start making more money, and you'll build a team and a customer base that supports you, not drains you. So here are your action tasks from this episode. What I'd love you to do is either come into our Trades Freedom Club, free Facebook group and community, or if you're a Growth Club member, come into our Growth Club and tell me which one of these 3 are you weakest in right now. And if you come and tell me that, tell me you've listened to this episode 110, which one are you weak in right now? And if there's anything I can do to support you to get this sorted, then I will do. And more importantly, what action are you now going to take? Because it's great that you're listening to these episodes, you're getting some knowledge, but knowledge without taking action equals 0 results. You're just going to get the same result as you're getting now until you take massive action. Now, if you need any more help and assistance, inside our Growth Club, you can get access to pre-recorded training videos, downloadable worksheets and plans and templates on all these 3 areas of time, money and people. On top of that, every month we have live training sessions with me or a member of my team live on Zoom where we go through every single topic and subject that you're going to need to improve and grow within your business to achieve time and financial freedom. If you're interested in finding out more about that, click the link in the show notes, head over to our Growth Club, watch the video, and if you feel as though that's for you, we'd love you to come and join our positive community of tradesmen and women. And remember, for things to change, you have to change, or all you'll ever have in your business and pocket is change. I'll catch up with you on next week's episode and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.